The first thing my sister said wasn't hello, it was, "We don't feed extras." Then she slid a plain water glass toward my son while her girls waited for lobster platters. My mother didn't blink, just added, "You should know your place." In that moment, every sound in the restaurant faded. The laughter, the music, the clinking forks, until all I could hear was my son swallowing hard beside me. I didn't fight. I didn't cry. I just smiled and said one word, "Noted." Before I tell you what happened when the chef arrived, tell me where are you watching from, and when you hear what came next, tell me what would you have done. Meridian was the kind of place people booked months in advance. The soft lighting, the ocean gray booths, the wine list that could pay a month's rent. My sister Camille had chosen it, calling it a perfect celebration for real achievements. Translation, her daughter's college acceptances. I said nothing, just confirmed we'd be there. Camille always liked to host. She said it made her feel generous, but what she really loved was the stage it gave her. Mom Evelyn thrived in that light too, watching her favorite daughter perform the part of success. I'd seen this play 100 times. My role was always the same, quiet, polite, disposable. Theo, my son, sat beside me, shoulders too big for his jacket hair falling into his eyes. He's 14, but still thinks kindness counts for something. He smiled at his cousins when we arrived, but they barely looked up from their phones. Ava and Riley, both 16, were mirror images and hair, perfect smiles. The kind of confidence that comes from being told the world already belongs to you. "Venus, you'll love this place," Camille said, glancing around the crowded dining room. "They have a chef who actually knows what he's doing." I could have told her that I'd trained that very chef, but instead I smiled. I'm sure he's great. The hostess led us to a corner booth with a clear view of the open kitchen. Every table was full. Waiters moved in rhythm, black aprons, crisp voices. It was my restaurant, though no one at the table knew it yet. I designed the lighting, chosen the marble for the bar, built the menu from scratch. Tonight, I was just another guest pretending to fit in a family that had never left room for me. Mom took the head of the table, settling her reading glasses like a crown. "Let's make this night special," she said. "We're celebrating big accomplishments." Ava beamed. Riley leaned in, whispering to her sister about dorm choices. Theo stayed quiet, studying the menu, pretending not to notice that no one asked what he'd like. I tried to focus on him, not the tension. He'd grown so fast this year, his voice deeper, his hands almost as big as mine. I wanted him to see strength that wasn't loud, the kind that holds still until the right moment to move. When the waiter approached, Camille ordered the most expensive wine. "The twins will have lobster," she said, like it was tradition. Then glancing at me, "I hope that's okay." I nodded. "It's your dinner." She smiled sharp and thin. "Exactly." As the waiter walked away, I felt the same old current pulling tight around the table. Camille's vanity, Mom's silence, my restraint. The night wasn't about family. It was about hierarchy. And though no one knew it yet, it was about to change. The server approached a young woman named Jenna, confident but careful. I'd hired her myself months ago, but she didn't recognize me in this setting, not with my hair down and a quiet smile instead of a clipboard. "What can I get you all to drink?" she asked, pen ready. Camille answered first. "A bottle of the Silvercrest Chardonnay for the table." "Of course," Jenna said, writing it down. "And for you," Sir Theo looked up. "Can I have a sparkling water with lemon, please?" Before Jenna could nod, Camille cut in. "He'll have tap water. Regular glass." Theo blinked. "Oh, I just thought—" "It's fine," she said, brushing him off. "Sparkling water is for guests of honor. Right, girls?" Ava and Riley exchanged a glance but stayed silent. I could see the discomfort in their posture. They weren't cruel, just trained to stay on their mother's side. Jenna hesitated, her eyes flicking to me for confirmation. I gave a tiny nod. She wrote tap water and moved on. The air tightened. My mother filled the silence. "It's nice we're all together, even if some of us don't get to do this very often." Her tone was smooth, practiced, but I caught the edge in it. I'd been on the receiving end of that tone my whole life. Theo tried again. "Can I get the shrimp pasta? It looks really good." Camille didn't even look up from her menu. "That's a bit much for tonight." I met her eyes. "For what reason exactly?" She smiled like she was indulging a child. Venus, this dinner is about the twins' achievements. Let's not overcomplicate things. We don't need everyone ordering like it's their big night. My voice stayed calm. He's hungry, Camille, then he can eat when he gets home, she said finally, closing her menu. We don't feed extras. For a second, no one breathed. The words landed like glass breaking. Even the nearby table went quiet. Theo stared down at the tablecloth, blinking too fast. I could see the redness gathering around his eyes. Mom set her wine glass down. Camille's right, dear. It's about the girls tonight. We all have our place. There it was, the confirmation clean and final. Something inside me clicked. Not anger exactly, but precision. A lifetime of swallowing moments like this had made me very good at one thing remembering. Jenna returned with the drinks. She slid the crystal glasses to Camille, to my mother, to the twins, then the plain glass of tap water, pushing it gently toward Theo. The sound it made against the wood was louder than it should have been. Theo whispered, thanks, but didn't drink. I looked at Camille, her perfect manicure, holding the stem of her wine glass, and smiled. Noted. She frowned. What does that mean? Just that I heard you. She laughed lightly. Good, then let's move on. But we wouldn't move on. Not tonight. I'd already decided this lesson wouldn't end at the table. I didn't touch my wine. The stem of the glass felt cold between my fingers, but my thoughts were steady, measured. Camille talked about college essays and internships, like she was giving a seminar on success. Mom nodded in rhythm, smiling proudly. I watched Theo push the condensation ring his glass left on the tablecloth, tracing circles to keep from crying. There was a time when I would have said something, defended myself, defended him. But tonight wasn't about arguing. It was about remembering who held the real power in this room. Jenna passed our table again, dropping off the first-course oysters for the table. Camille waved her hand toward Theo's empty setting. He doesn't need one. Jenna hesitated. Are you sure, ma'am? Camille's voice sharpened. Positive. Jenna looked at me. I gave her the smallest nod. She moved on, but I caught the flicker of discomfort in her eyes. She knew it wasn't right. She also knew I would handle it. As Camille kept talking, I let my mind wander, not to escape, but to calculate. I thought about the contracts in my office drawer, the payrolls, the staff I'd personally interviewed, including Jenna and Chef Marco. I thought about every late night I'd spent turning a failing kitchen into this thriving restaurant. It was almost funny, in a cruel way. Camille had chosen this place to make a statement. She just didn't realize whose name was on the deed. Theo leaned closer. Mom, can we leave? I shook my head slightly. Not yet. He looked confused. But I'm not. You will? I said softly. Just wait. His eyes searched mine, and something in him relaxed. Maybe he didn't understand, but he trusted me. The second course arrived: lobster platters for the twins, sea bass for Camille, scallops for Mom. Plates gleamed under the pendant light. The smell of butter and garlic filled the air. Camille clinked her glass. To success. To our girls, making us proud. Theo reached for his water. His hand trembled. I caught it under the table, steadying him. You're fine, I whispered. When I looked up again, Camille was watching me. You're quiet tonight, Venus. Everything okay? Perfect, I said, smiling. Good, she replied. It's just sometimes I worry you take things too personally. Not this time. She frowned, not sure what to do with my tone. Mom changed the subject, talking about summer homes and travel plans. I let the conversation wash over me. I was done listening. Jenna passed by again, and I caught her eye. I didn't say a word, just a subtle tilt of my head toward the kitchen. She nodded once, before disappearing through the swinging doors. I took a sip of water. The moment was coming, and when it did, it would be quiet, deliberate, and final. Camille leaned back, satisfied, her daughters laughing beside her. And I thought, let them laugh now, because when the chef arrives, no one will forget this dinner. When the chef arrived, I said later, the room went still. The kitchen door swung open and Chef Marco stepped out, wiping his hands on a white apron. He was a tall man with the kind of calm that made people listen before he even spoke. I saw the moment Camille realized something was off, Jenna following close behind him, her notepad clutched tightly like she was bracing for impact. Chef Marco, I called, my voice steady but clear enough for the tables nearby to hear. Could you join us for a moment? Camille froze mid-laugh. Venus, what are you? Just a quick introduction, I said. Marco approached the table. "Of course, ma'am. Is everything all right?" "Everything's fine," I said. "I just thought my family might like to meet you. This is my sister, Camille, my mother, Evelyn, my nieces, Ava and Riley, and my son, Theo." Marco nodded politely. "Pleasure to meet you all," I smiled at him. "Chef, would you mind telling them what your position is here?" He blinked, confused but professional. "I'm the head chef at Meridian." "And who do you report to?" I asked. His gaze flicked between me and Camille, then back to me. "You, Ms. Hale." The table went silent. Even the twins stopped whispering. Mom's hand tightened around her wine glass. Camille tried to laugh. "Wait, you mean she works here?" "Or, no," I interrupted gently. "I don't work here. I own here. The restaurant, the building, the company, Meridian is mine." Her mouth fell open. "That's not 18 months ago I said I bought out the investors. Every paycheck, every bottle of wine, every lobster that comes out of that kitchen runs through my signature." The sound around us dimmed again as if the restaurant itself leaned closer to listen. A nearby couple exchanged glances. Mom found her voice first. "Venus, dear, this isn't necessary, it is," I said, "because tonight you both decided to teach my son about knowing his place. So let's make sure we all understand exactly where we stand." Camille flushed red, words stumbling. "I didn't mean, you said we don't feed extras." I cut in, calm but sharp. "And then you told my employee not to serve my child. That wasn't a slip. That was you showing me who you are." Theo looked between us, eyes wide, unsure whether to feel vindicated or terrified. I placed my hand on his shoulder. "Don't worry," I said softly. "We're done being extras." I turned to Jenna. "Could you please bring my son a lobster platter, the one with truffle butter and the chef's off-menu special? Whatever you think he'll like best." Jenna nodded, her expression a mix of relief and pride. "Right away, Ms. Hale." "Thank you," I said, "and make sure to bring him the good glassware." Camille's voice cracked. "You're embarrassing us." I looked at her, still smiling. "Funny, that's exactly what you wanted to do to me, wasn't it?" Mom interjected, her tone pleading. "Venus, please, we're family." "Family," I said, finally letting a little steel into my voice. "Family doesn't sit by while their grandson gets treated like a stray dog. Family doesn't tell a child he's not worth dinner." The color drained from her face. I turned to Marco. "Chef, please ensure my son's meal is perfect. I'd like him to remember this dinner for the right reasons." Marco gave a small smile. "You have my word." As he disappeared into the kitchen, the nearby diners started murmuring. Some looked at me with sympathy, others with awe. Camille straightened, pretending not to hear them, but her neck flushed a deep red. Theo's food arrived not long after an elaborate spread that could have fed 2 people. The lobster steamed, the truffle scent filling the air. Marco himself set the plate down. "Enjoy, young man." Theo's voice trembled. "Thank you." Camille's twins looked down at their plates, silent now, their earlier confidence gone. I leaned forward slightly. "Eat, Theo." He hesitated, then took a bite. His shoulders loosened. "It's really good." "I know," I said. "It's yours." I raised my glass, not in a toast, but in a quiet declaration. "To knowing your worth." Camille whispered, "You planned this, didn't you?" I shook my head. "No, you did. You chose the restaurant. You chose the table. You chose the stage. All I did was turn on the lights." Mom put her head in her hands. "Please stop, Venus." "I will," I said. "After one more thing." I gestured toward Jenna. "Please bring the bill to my sister." Camille's eyes widened. "Excuse me?" "This was your dinner," I said evenly. "Your celebration. You ordered the $75 bottle of wine, the lobster for the girls. You wanted to be the host. Hosts pay." She reached for her purse, frantic. "Venus, come on." "Don't worry," I said softly. "You can afford it. After all, you said success should be celebrated properly." Theo kept eating, quiet but peaceful now. His eyes lifted to me, searching for permission to smile. I gave it to him. Camille finally found her voice. "This isn't fair." I tilted my head. "Fair? You want to talk about fair?" She said nothing. "Here's fair," I continued. "You teach your daughters that they're the main characters. You teach them to treat others like props. And tonight, they watched you learn what happens when the story changes direction." Silence. Even the music in the background seemed to slow. Theo took another bite of lobster, then looked at his aunt. It's really good, he said quietly. Camille's lip trembled. I'm sorry, she whispered. Not to me, I said. To him. She turned to Theo, voice breaking. I'm sorry, sweetheart. He didn't answer, just nodded once. Mom spoke next, defeated. We should go. Yes, I agreed. You should. They stood awkwardly, gathering their purses, their untouched plates still steaming. People watched them walk out, whispers following like shadows. When the door closed behind them, the room exhaled. Theo looked up at me. Are they going to hate you now? Maybe for a while, I said. But that's all right. I didn't do it for them. He nodded slowly, then smiled, a small, careful thing that grew stronger with every second. Good, I said softly. Now eat. He did, and I leaned back, letting the satisfaction settle. Justice didn't always need noise. Sometimes it just needed clarity and a perfectly cooked lobster platter. The private dining room in the back felt quieter, almost gentle. The noise of the restaurant was just a hum beyond the glass wall. Theo sat across from me, his plate half empty, the nervousness finally gone from his face. Mom, he said, why did Aunt Camille call me an extra? Because some people think worth is something they get to decide, I answered. They're wrong. He nodded, studying the gold rim of his plate. You didn't yell. No, I said. People like them expect you to lose control. The best revenge is reminding them you don't have to. He smiled. Then I'm proud of you. I reached across the table, brushing a crumb from his sleeve. Be proud of yourself too, Theo. You didn't break. You stayed kind. That's what makes you the main character. We left Meridian just before closing. The city lights blurred against the windshield, the kind of glow that makes everything feel new again. Theo leaned back in his seat, full and quiet, staring out the window, like he finally understood something he'd never been told before. Some people spend their lives learning their place. Others build it. I built mine, one insult, one long night, one plate at a time, until no one could slide water across my table again. If you've ever been made to feel small, tell me where you're watching from. You're not alone. The doorbell rang like a warning. When I opened the door, my sister Emily stood there with 4 kids clinging to her legs, Ethan, Olivia, Sophia, and baby Liam. Her mascara was smudged, her car engine still running at the curb. Just 1 hour, Laura, she said, shoving a diaper bag into my arms. I need to clear my head. Before I could speak, she was gone, taillights shrinking into the street. An hour passed, then 2, then 10. The note in the diaper bag read only, I'll be back soon. Thank you. She never came back. And that's how my life and theirs completely changed. My name is Laura Bennett, and back then I was 45, working as a nurse at Mercy General in Sacramento. I lived alone in a rented duplex near the hospital. Quiet neighborhood, faded porch light, the kind of place where nothing dramatic ever happened. I liked it that way. I worked, paid my bills, slept through the noise of the city, and told myself I was content. Emily, my younger sister, was the opposite of quiet. She'd always chased something faster. Married young, had 4 kids by 30, divorced by 31. When she called, it was usually from Chaos Kids, screaming music, blaring her voice, breaking through with a, "You have no idea how hard it is, Laura." I'd listen, calm her down, sometimes send a little money. I didn't judge her. I just thought she needed time. The day she left the kids, I kept believing she'd walk back through that door any minute. I made mac and cheese, kept her phone number pinned to the fridge, and checked my messages every hour. When the phone was finally disconnected, the silence hit me like a second betrayal. The first week, I barely slept. Ethan, 8, tried to act grown, reading bedtime stories to his sisters. Olivia, 6, asked every night, "Mom's still shopping, right?" Sophia, 4, would hide under my table when the doorbell rang. And little Liam cried until he hiccuped himself to sleep in my arms. I called our parents. They hadn't heard from Emily either. My mother whispered, "She'll come back," but her voice didn't sound convinced. After 2 weeks, I knew the truth no one wanted to say out loud. She'd left for good. Bills stacked up. Formula, school supplies, babysitters. My paycheck barely covered rent. I picked up night shifts, 12 hours on my feet, coming home to sleepy hugs and cold coffee. The neighbors thought I'd lost my mind taking in 4 kids that weren't mine. Maybe I had. But every time one of them laughed, something in me healed a little. There was no dramatic decision, just small ones, signing Ethan and Olivia up for school, filling Sophia's ballet form, teaching Liam to tie his shoes. Somewhere between the late-night feedings and the report charts at work, I stopped being Aunt Laura. I was just Mom, even if I never said it out loud. Still, I kept Emily's note tucked inside the diaper bag, those 4 careless words, "I'll be back soon." Sometimes on the hardest nights, I'd read them again and whisper, "You already came back, Em. Just not the way you think." 10 years can pass quietly when you're too busy surviving to count them. By the time I turned 55, the house no longer smelled like disinfectant and takeout. It smelled like life-wet soccer cleats, cheap perfume, burnt toast. My 4 kids, because that's what they'd become, had their own corners of the world now. Ethan was applying to colleges, Olivia sang at school, concerts, Sophia danced in every recital she could afford, and Liam spent weekends covered in grass stains from football practice. I worked days instead of nights. We had routines, inside jokes, 1,000 tiny rituals that stitched us together. On Sundays, we'd pile on the couch, half asleep, watching old movies with popcorn in a mixing bowl. No one said it out loud, but this was a family. Ours. I didn't talk about Emily anymore. The kids had stopped asking around year 3. For them, the silence had become normal. For me, it was the only way to keep the peace inside my own head. Sometimes I'd find that old note in a drawer, those 4 words, "I'll be back soon." I think you already missed everything worth coming back to. Still, a part of me stayed cautious. I kept every school certificate, every doctor's record, every bill with my name on it, proof that I had raised them, that I had built something real. I told myself it was for practical reasons, but deep down I knew it was fear. Fear that one day she'd return and try to take it all. One late afternoon, the house was golden with summer light. Olivia's voice drifted from her room. Sophia's ballet shoes tapped faintly on the floor. Liam's laughter rolled from the backyard. I was folding laundry when the doorbell rang, the same sharp 2-note sound that had changed my life a decade earlier. For a second, my body froze. My mind went blank. Then the sound came again, insistent, familiar. I walked to the door, my heart hammering, like it was trying to warn me. When I opened it, time folded in on itself. Emily stood there, not the exhausted, messy version I remembered, but polished hair, sleek makeup, perfect. Next to her, a man in a tailored suit held a briefcase. "Hello, Laura," she said, smiling like we were strangers meeting for the first time. "This is my lawyer. We need to talk about my children." My hands went cold. Behind me, I could hear the TV shut off, footsteps gathering in the hallway. 10 years of peace collapsed in a single breath. The man beside Emily stepped forward, voice smooth and rehearsed. "Michael Johnson," he said, handing me a thick envelope. "Ms. Turner is filing for custody of her children." Custody. The word hit harder than any slap. I stared at him, then at Emily. She crossed her arms, eyes cool, lips painted in some expensive shade of red. "You've been unlawfully keeping them from me for 10 years, she said. "I'm their mother, Laura. You had no right." Behind me, Ethan appeared at the top of the stairs, his voice sharp. "Mom, what's going on?" Emily flinched at the word Mom. "See, you even let them call you that." Olivia's voice trembled. "Why are you here? I'm taking you home," Emily said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Sophia began to cry. Liam grabbed my hand, whispering, "I don't want to go." I wanted to scream, to throw her out, to tell her what those kids went through while she was off rebuilding her life. But my voice refused to come out. Instead, I just stood there holding Liam's hand so tightly my knuckles went white. Michael slid a business card onto the table. "The hearing is in 3 weeks. I suggest you get representation." Then they turned and walked out like it was already settled. When the door closed, the silence was suffocating. The kids gathered around me, questions flooding in. Can she do that? Do we have to go? Are we in trouble? I couldn't answer a single one. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat alone in the kitchen. The house that had always felt safe now felt like a ticking clock. On the counter lay the court papers, words blurred through my tears: custody, hearing, defendant. I opened the drawer where I kept things I couldn't throw away, old report cards, drawings, and at the bottom the note from that day: "I'll be back soon." 10 years ago I thought it was meaningless. Now it was proof. Proof she'd walked away by choice. My mind started piecing everything together like a nurse rebuilding a broken patient. I'd need evidence, witnesses, anything that could tell the truth louder than her lies. One name rose above the noise: Jason Turner, her ex-husband. He'd gone to prison years ago, but I remembered hearing he was out. Maybe he knew where she'd been all this time. I scrolled through my contacts until I found his number, fingers shaking as I hit call. Jason. "It's Laura," I said when he answered. "Emily's back. She's trying to take the kids." He went quiet for a long moment, then sighed. "I'm not surprised. She's after something. You should come by tomorrow. There's something you need to see." Something in his tone told me this wasn't just about family anymore. It was about truth and maybe, finally, justice. The next afternoon, I drove to Jason's apartment on the edge of town, a rundown complex that smelled of oil and cigarettes. Jason opened the door, looking older, calmer, maybe even regretful. "Come in," he said, moving aside. His living room was sparse: a couch, a TV, a photo of the kids from years ago. He didn't waste time. "I heard what she's doing," he said. "I figured she would, once she found out your parents left you that house." "So this is about money," I murmured. "It always was." He unlocked his phone, scrolled for a moment, then handed it to me. A friend of mine recorded this years ago. He didn't even know who she was until I told him later. The video began in a noisy bar. Emily was laughing, hair blonde, from a bottle, holding a drink like a trophy. "4 kids was just too much," she said. "I needed to start over. Let Laura deal with them." Her friends laughed. Someone off camera said something about guilt, and Emily smirked. "Guilt, I'm free now." My stomach turned. 10 years of sleepless nights, scraped together meals, missed birthdays, and she called it freedom. "Can I use this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Jason nodded. "Use whatever you need. I'll testify if it helps." 3 weeks later, the courthouse smelled of floor polish and nerves. The kids sat beside me, dressed in their Sunday best. Olivia clutched Sophia's hand. Ethan's jaw was tight, a mirror of my own. Emily entered like she was stepping onto a stage. Designer dress, confident stride, her lawyer a few steps behind. She didn't even glance at the kids. The bailiff called our case. Judge Robert Davis, gray-haired and stern, took his seat. The room settled into silence. Michael Johnson stood first. "Your Honor, my client, Ms. Turner, was suffering from severe depression at the time she temporarily entrusted her children to her sister. Ms. Bennett then refused to return them, cutting off contact entirely. For 10 years, Ms. Turner was denied her rights as a mother." His voice was smooth, practiced. Emily dabbed at imaginary tears. When he finished, David Ross, my lawyer, rose. "Your Honor, we have a very different version of events." He handed the judge a folder. Inside is the only note Ms. Turner left. It says, "I'll be back soon." That was 10 years ago. She never returned, never called, never wrote. Ms. Bennett raised these children alone, providing food, shelter, and education, all documented. Emily shook her head dramatically. "I tried to call. She blocked me." David didn't flinch. "Then why did she change her number? Why did she disconnect her email? And why, Your Honor?" "Did she tell her friends something very different?" The judge frowned. "What do you mean, counselor?" David turned toward the back of the courtroom. "We have a witness." The door opened. Jason stepped in, wearing a plain shirt and the weight of too many mistakes. Emily's face drained of color as he approached the stand. "Mr. Turner," David said, "how long have you known Ms. Turner?" "Since we were teenagers," Jason replied. "Married for 10 years, 4 kids. After the divorce, did she maintain contact with her children? No, not once." "And do you have something you'd like to present to the court?" Jason nodded, unlocking his phone. The bailiff took it, plugged it into the screen. The lights dimmed slightly as the video filled the room. There she was, Emily, younger but unmistakable, laughing in that crowded bar. Her words echoed against the courtroom walls. 4 kids was just too much. I needed to start over. Let Laura deal with them. The room went dead silent. The judge leaned forward. Olivia began to cry softly beside me. Ethan reached for her hand. Sophia looked away. Liam pressed against my arm, whispering, "She really said that." Emily stood abruptly. "That was taken out of context. I was drunk. I didn't mean it." The judge's voice was sharp. "Sit down, Ms. Turner. David spoke quietly but firmly. "Your Honor, this is not a case about temporary custody. It's a case about abandonment." The judge turned to Emily. "Where have you been living, Ms. Turner?" "In San Francisco," she said faintly. "And how do you support yourself?" I have friends," she stammered. "Do you own a home?" "No." "Do you have employment?" Her lawyer tried to interrupt, but the judge raised a hand. "No further questions." He turned toward me. "Ms. Bennett, these children appear to be thriving under your care. Would you like to say anything before I make my ruling?" I stood, legs trembling. "Your Honor, I never asked to be their mother. I just couldn't let them be abandoned. I worked nights. I missed sleep meals, birthdays. I did it because someone had to. I did it because I love them." Ethan suddenly stood too. "She's our mom," he said. "She's the only one who ever showed up." The judge studied us for a long moment, then nodded. "I've heard enough." He looked directly at Emily. "Your claim that you were denied access to your children is unsupported by any evidence. The video confirms your intent to abandon them. Full custody is granted to Ms. Bennett. Ms. Turner, you are prohibited from contacting these children without court approval for 7 years." Emily's mouth opened, but no sound came. Her lawyer whispered something, but she just stared ahead, white as paper. As the gavel struck, Olivia sobbed into my shoulder. Sophia wrapped her arms around Liam. Ethan exhaled, shoulders shaking. I wanted to stay strong, but the tears came anyway. Emily was escorted out, still whispering, "They're my kids." The judge didn't even look up. "They were," he said. "You gave them up when you walked away. When it was over, I walked out into the sunlight, the kids surrounding me like a shield." The courthouse doors closed behind us, and for the first time in a decade, I felt the weight lift. Justice didn't roar. It whispered. It came through quiet truths and the kind of love that never needed an apology. The weeks after the trial felt strangely calm, like the air after a storm. Emily disappeared from the city. Her lawyer sent one last notice about appeal options, but nothing ever came of it. Word spread that she'd moved to Modesto, renting a small apartment working at a grocery store. For the first time, I didn't feel angry, just empty. We moved into my parents' old house, the one she'd wanted. It needed repairs, but it was ours. I painted the walls warm yellow, bought secondhand furniture, and let the kids pick their own rooms. The first night, Olivia sang in the hallway while I unpacked dishes. Sophia danced behind her, Liam chased the dog, and Ethan laughed so hard he had to sit down. Dinner that night was simple spaghetti salad, store-brand soda, but it felt like a feast. As I passed the bowl around, Liam looked up and said softly, "Mom, can I have seconds?" Everything stopped. The word hung in the air like a prayer. I nodded, blinking fast. "Yeah, baby, you can." He grinned, piling noodles high. The others smiled too, pretending not to notice the tears in my eyes. For years, I'd fought to give them a life that felt normal. Now, for the first time, it truly was. Outside, crickets hummed. Inside, laughter filled every corner of that little house. It didn't feel borrowed anymore. It felt like home. Some nights, I still sit on the porch after everyone's asleep, the cicadas humming like a lullaby. The moonlight spills across the old diaper bag I kept all these years, the one with her note still inside. "I'll be back soon." She left them for 1 hour. I stayed for a lifetime. Inside, I can hear Ethan talking softly on the phone from his college dorm, Olivia singing in her room, Sophia practicing a dance routine, Liam laughing at something on TV. Each sound is proof that love, not blood, built this family. I don't hate Emily anymore. I don't need to. The truth already did what hate never could. It set us free. I close my eyes, whisper to the night. We made it. Have you ever been forced to become the parent someone else refused to be? Share your story below. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories like this one.